So you mentioned about the thing with attachment and how if it's I think you use the word insulted along the different stages of the spectrum there. And but the children, I think what you said, if I remember correctly, is that children have a desire to attach to something, but if they're not attaching to their parent, and if that mechanism or that attachment gets broken, it's not that they don't want to attach still, but they attach to something unhealthy. Is that often what happens?
Again, it goes to what part of the timeline are we talking about? Because there is along development there's the importance of the presence of a parent, a parenting figure. It's like when ducklings are hatched. And the first thing they do, the first figure they see, they attach to, and they follow around.
Yeah.
Okay, well, humans have the same, a similar mechanism. And if that's interrupted really early, they lose that connection.
Yeah.
And they really lose the ability to have attachment, to connect.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, if something happens just a little bit later, where there's too much attachment, too much enmeshment, too much overbearing parenting, the child doesn't learn to separate.
Yeah,
because there's a balance.
Yeah,
there's a timeline when the child is connected, literally connected, and there's a timeline, a part of the timeline where they're learning how to start to separate, but still be secure with the attachment. And then there's part of the timeline when they're learning how to separate. Now they're becoming autonomous. They're understanding that they're now kind of separate individuals from mom or dad. And if there is an insult to that, if there is a delay in that, a child could also, apart from losing the ability to be connected, they can also have the psychological, emotional mindset that everything around them still belongs to them. Everything around them is a part of them. They can't separate from them. So you hear these cases, that the domestic violence culture likes to talk about, where there's separation, and all of a sudden, the ex begins to pursue and murder the person that leaves.
Right. Yeah.
Well, though, a lot of the basis for that comes from the mindset psychologically and emotionally that the world is still a part of them.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to or tolerate that things are different from them.
Yeah. That sounds very fascinating. And I mean, when you're talking about this thing, a lot of scenarios come to mind that you could say, how does this play out, how that play out? But that's not really what we're here completely to talk about at this point. But I also hear you saying that, if correct me if I'm wrong on this, that what happens to one child can end up being transgenerational.
Yes.
It can be replicated.
Yeah, because they're going to grow up with that developmental psychology, so to speak. And either there can be some resilience where, which is another word for kind of healing back into a certain stage of normality, and they can go on to develop somewhat to normal healthy attachments or not. And there's a lot of factors that are unpredictable.